That's my liquor store. I really do own a liquor store in a small town, in the town of Alva, Oklahoma. Anybody knows where Alva is? Oh, yeah, I love playing the hometown crowd. That's awesome. Okay, so I have owned that liquor store since 2006. 2006. That's the same year I started my blog and the same year I joined Twitter before hashtags. And because I've been doing both of these over the same time period, I have noticed a lot of parallels in how I've developed the business and in how the online world has developed in that time. So while 8 years seems like a lifetime online, in the life of a small town business, that is like the blink of an eye. So there's a lot of deeper principles that go into being in a small town business, and we're going to apply those to being online. So what I have for you is to talk about the social aspect of this. The social part of social media can be pretty daunting. If you're staring at your computer, you're sitting at your computer staring at that blank update box, you can find yourself at a loss for words. And when you get one of those angry replies from somebody that lost a lot of money betting on the ponies, you can kind of wonder, what do I have to say to this person? So here is the model I have for you, which is to pretend that you are the owner of a small town store. So you're going to build a little store for yourself for your business. Now, it doesn't matter what your ostensible title is or what they say your job ought to be. You're the owner of a small town store. It doesn't have to be a liquor store. It can be any kind of store. This is your store. You can build it the way you want it and populate it with all the products and services that your business offers. Try to picture them as physical things and picture them on the shelves. And when you do that and you take ownership of it, then the social part of this becomes much easier. I'm going to give you 8 principles that are part of my experience at the liquor store and that can help you in developing your social approach. So the first of those principles is to be yourself. Now, some of you, James Dolman, thought that I would be here in my cowboy boots because I also have cattle, and that I would be, dressed like I was going to work at the liquor store. Yes, I do dress up on occasion. It can happen. But we are who we are. There is no point in my store trying to pretend to be like the world's finest cognac merchants. We're in Alva, Oklahoma. We just are who we are. We use our accents. We don't celebrate the introduction of the Beaujolais Nouveau. We celebrate rodeo, because that's what our customers care about. And we do use our Okie accents, and we talk about things in the language that our customers understand. So how about your online practice? Do you find that maybe you tend to put things a little more formally because you're trying to be formal and important? Or do you find corporate speak is being forced upon you, or legalistic terms? Use your human accent. Be a real person. And that matters completely in everything that you say. It changes the approach of what you do. Now, at least one person just shook her pen at that. So either she's out of ink already at my brilliant thoughts, or it's getting to her. So be yourself, be who you are. The second principle of this is to allow customers to learn their own way. We know that all different kinds of people learn in lots of different kinds of ways, right? So we make that as easy as possible. We make it possible. We answer a lot of questions online, on our social channels. Our website's full of answers. And then we post answers even before they ask them. Right here, next to every wine variety in my store is a little description panel, just like you see there. And it contains words like a wine expert might use. So we talk about full-bodied, and we talk about whether it's sweet or dry. But we also translate that into words and pictures that anyone can understand. Moscato says it is luscious and has pictures of hard candies. You can understand from that information right there whether this is the wine for you or not. Moscato drinkers, you know who you are, and they're all ladies. All right, see, that's what Moscato is for. Okay, so how about you online for your business? Can you answer questions for people before they ever get to you? Can you use your social channels to be answering questions all the time, providing information? Do you use a variety of formats? Knowing, we have words and pictures and longer descriptions. Do you provide short and long, and do you use video and audio? People learn in all different ways. You have to mix it up in order for people to learn their own way. The third principle is to talk less about yourself and more about them. Less about you and more about them. If you think about how a customer will ask us a question when they come into the liquor store, the questions are about our product. But we don't start by saying, hey, we've got a big special right now on Jack Daniels, you really need Jack Daniels. We stop and allow them to ask the questions of us. They ask what we like, what have we tried, is this good, do we like it, is that not, what do I feel like drinking tonight, the hardest question anybody ever asks. And you answer all of these based on what they want to know, as opposed to what you want to tell them. And we focus on also the personal side of things. We talk about family and work and vacation and school and all those things across the front counter at our store because we're real people. And I mean, we like to talk, that's absolutely true, but we're also focusing on individual people. If there weren't for personal relationships that we build in that business, it might as well be a vending machine. Now, how is your social? Is it maybe a little more like a vending machine right now? Some of you work for companies where social is a little more like a loudspeaker, just blaring announcements. If it's not you, then you know who I'm talking about. You've seen plenty of accounts that do. The idea is to build personal relationships because that's the basis of all human interaction. Think long term. That's a really old photo. That's our long term right there. Think long term. Smart community builders come to stay because the community works on a long term basis. That store has been in my personal family for over 20 years now. We know not everybody in town. It's a town of 6,000 people. We don't know everyone in town, but we know lots of folks, and we know people for generations back. People expect that we will know what their friend drinks, what they would like as a gift, and the Women's Garden Club expects us to know what wine they use at their annual dinner, so we keep track on an honest-to-God index card of what wines they drink so that we can provide them with that information every year. It's part of that long-term orientation. You have to think out that far in advance. Now, the opposite of that is the mass marketing approach that you've seen where everything is short-term. That's the hit and run method. You throw as many ads out there as possible. You throw as many social messages as you can. You try to gather up a lot of eyeballs. You want to get as many views as possible. That's a mass marketing theory that does not apply as much in the human world of personal interaction. And it's a very short-term orientation where humans think in a long-term orientation. So focus your efforts on building for the long term. Do what's right. We are deadly serious about not selling to anyone who is under 21, which Steve Brogan thought was hilarious because we stopped him at the door for a photo. Every time we have an opportunity to do what's right in our business, we do what's right. If we give you the wrong change, we've done this, if we give you the wrong change, we will chase you down across town to find you, and we will get your change back to you correctly, because that's what we do. See, there's a saying in small towns, if you do not want your grandmother to read about it on the front page of the newspaper, you've heard this, don't do it. And that is absolutely true, because we know in a small town that every interaction, everything we do can be found out, and in short order. Well, guess what? That applies to us all now, every one of you. And while there is a temptation while we're working for a larger organization that maybe you could shade the truth a little bit and tell just kind of a version of it, or, I can kind of hide behind the anonymity of the corporate account here. You can't do that in a small town, and you can no longer do it online. Anything that you do can be found out. If you don't offer transparency to the world may come to you and take the transparency. So you might as well do what is right every step of the way. Get involved in your community. There are activities and projects going on all the time. There's Twitter chats and webinars and things from in your industry that you could be a part of. So that means you have to show up. You have to participate and get involved. If you go to Alva and you wander around at some event, you're likely to run into one of us from the liquor store. We've been part of wine tastings like this one, social media get-togethers. I help lead the Small Business Saturday, Shop Small Saturday for our community. Lori is involved with the schools because she's got a school-age kid. Adam is in the college band. We just get involved in the community. Now, that's a natural small-town thing, but you're part of an online community that is just like a small town now, and so you can get involved as well. Show up, participate, be part of Steve Lackmeyer's chats, be part of what is going on in your community. And take that a step further and be a good neighbor. This is going to the point of loving your competitors, linking out to those other news sources, whether you like them or not. This is all part of it. It's part of, in my community, anytime I see another business that has anything even vaguely wine or liquor related. I saw these down at the drugstore. These are little gift cards that are in the shape of a wine bottle. I share those on my social channels, not because I think my customers necessarily will buy them or they'll buy I won't gain anything from it, but it's good for the community at large. That's part of being a good neighbor. So who is the larger community that you and your business is part of? How can you connect and support and be part of that? If you hear of a job opportunity, even if it's not with your company, pass it along to the people in your community. If you turn down a client or you're not able to win a client, help them make a connection from within your network. Your community is your neighborhood. Be a good neighbor, even to people who you feel are your competitors. In my town, there was a business that their building burned down. And one of their competitors offered them a building to work out of until they could find a replacement to work from. That's carrying it a long way. But that's the kind of good neighbor attitude that you can take even online and even with people that you feel are your competitors. And finally, I know this is an ongoing theme today, but focus on the individual people. There's a tendency online to, we've just heard the latest shiny new network is up to 20 million users. We've all got to get over there. What is your Snapchat strategy? You've got to have one. That is the difference between focusing on individuals and mass marketing. If you're worried about follows, the number of likes, the number of clicks, the number of views, eyeballs, all of that is the mass marketing viewpoint. You're taking the individual viewpoint. You're getting to know people as individuals. If I only looked at the total number of people that I can sell to with 6,000 people in my town, I'd probably move to a bigger city. But instead, I focus on the individuals. I know that my store, my business, makes a difference in my community. And so that is why I am still there. It's because I know that what we do makes a difference in our community. Now, I whipped through that really pretty quickly. I'm getting us back on track. That's my plan here. All right, so we actually are now ready for Q&A. Do you want to come up and negotiate the Q&A? I have 2 minutes at the very end because I have a gift for you and I have one last thing to say. But I'm open for your questions. Oh, they'll get me later.
Thank you.
I caught you before you were ready with your questions. That's
yeah, I have nuts in my mouth again.
Somebody
this isn't a carry-on movie, okay, people? That was an honest mistake.
Somebody tell me you've got a question, please.
Yes,
Save me.
I'm very sorry. Yes, I do. Why are small towns important?
Why are small towns important? Small towns are important because we are the repository of learning that has been lost in many other places. In a small town, we have continued to have the same kind of pressure that we now face online. It's like we're the learning lab. In a small town, if I burn one customer, if my store was unkind to you, you could easily go straight down to the coffee shop and tell everybody in town, right? See, this gal's a small town gal, I can tell. And tell everybody in town instantly and in a very short order. But now every company faces that kind of pressure online. Every customer can talk to every other customer online. And so the things that we have always done business by in small towns now apply in every setting.
Yeah.
I heard it, but I don't see.
What you have done is provide opportunities for you and your employees to really touch the lives of the people vocabulary in several different ways. You give more in value than you receive in payment. You serve lots of people in lots of ways. So obviously, you put their interests first. And you're very authentic about the way you do it. What do you get out of it?
What do we get out of that? Okay, so what he said was that what part of what we do in business is we give more value than we receive. We focus a lot on our customers' needs and providing value back to the community. What do we get out of that? We get a good living for myself and the people who are employed there. We contribute to the overall prosperity of the entire community, which repays me many times over. That comes back to us in additional business. It comes back to us in so many ways that I can't even begin to count how fortunate we are to be part of a small community. I actually, don't tell anybody, I feel bad for those of you in big cities. You don't have that kind of a feedback where when you do that wonderful stuff, it comes straight back to you immediately from within your own community. You have to build it for yourself online. You have to build that kind of community. It's why you do what you do with this event of trying to build community within this area so that people have that kind of interconnectedness.
Question, how much time do you spend trying to invest in the community or grow the community versus grow your business?
I'm actually a very pathetic community builder. I don't feel like I do very much for my community. I feel like I should do a lot more. I spend more of my time on my business than I do building my own hometown community.
Well, let me just shift your paradigm a little bit. You have a different community than just the small town.
True. Oh, if you want to count my online community, now I'm going to get in trouble. Yeah, I spend a lot of time on that. Okay.
No doubt.
I don't know. I don't track my hours that I spend building the online community. I don't know what that is.
But there is another community there, and it's online.
Yes, yes.
I don't know really what I'm saying here, but I'm saying something profound. Probably. Any other questions?
I have
David.
suggested questions. I can't believe nobody's going to ask any of these.
I raised a question. How many head of cattle do you run?
See, that's a little bit like saying, how much money do you make? Did y'all know that? You know, real cowboys freak out when you ask them that. We only have like 40 or 50 cows, depending on how bad the drought is this year. And since we got rains late, we actually have a lot more grass. But we haven't increased our number of cattle. So we're usually 40 to 50. The guys that run 400 head, they get really testy when you ask them that, because that's like, how much money do you make a year? And you're like, so.
If you could change one law in Oklahoma or two dealing with this topic of liquor and beer, what would it be?
I want coolers. I want coolers in my liquor store. See, there's one liquor store customer here who's with me. When they built my building, I will go back because I want you to see the outside of my building. When they built that building in like 74, they built it for coolers because the guy who built it, Emory Allen, said, I know they're going to change that law real soon. And to this very day, we have no coolers. So if I can change one thing, I'm putting in coolers. Yes, sir.
Are there any complications or restrictions from the able commission on what you're able to do with your business versus?
Just the same basic things that restrict us at the physical store. We cannot deliver, we cannot ship, we can't put anything in the mail, we cannot give wine or liquor. Liquor can never be a prize in Oklahoma, so people come to us all the time, will you give us a door prize for the ladies' luncheon? No. Okay, then, we can't. We cannot give them anything for liquor to be a prize. So I do have a few of my business cards here today. Where are the people that got business cards? Yay! Okay, my liquor business cards, they're little mini business cards, but that's my gift to you. It is my business card. It is not a prize for anything, but if you remember anything I said, then you can come up to me after my talk or anytime in the rest of the afternoon. I'll give you one of the remaining. I think I have like 15 left.
As long as you are over 21
you must be over 21, one per customer, not considered a prize under Oklahoma law. I think we got that. So the ABLE, I can pretty much say what I want to as long as I'm not promoting anything illegal. At least the ABLE hasn't called me yet. Nobody called the ABLE.
Any other questions?
I got one. Okay, so I've asked this before, Becky, but other people might wonder this as well, because we're all online and we have different personalities of brands. How do you move between your different brands? You're a liquor store owner, small town, you have different communities. How do you know which hat to put on at what time, and how do you float in between and keep it all the same?
That's a great question.
That's a great question because I have multiple businesses, the liquor store, the cattle ranch. I do the online work with small business. So there's a lot. And how do I move between one and the other? And it's just partially about how I schedule my day. This is the same answer I've given you before, which is I keep a folder with all my projects in it. So I have each project I have going has its own page, and I have a weekly calendar. I swear to God, it's on paper. I have a paper calendar that has the week on one page so that I can write down 6 things to do each and every day. So I look at the list of projects, I look through the projects, find the one thing that needs to happen on that project this week, I find a time to put it, and that's how I do it. And so then I just move. So I may start out in the morning, I go to the store, count the money, fix the deposit, get everything ready for the store, then we're going to go to the farm and check on the cattle or fix a windmill or fix fence, and then from there I'm going to be working online, working on a talk for someplace, or I'm working on writing something for somewhere, and
do
so
you
it just
have
works
to
back and forth.
change your voice when you talk as these different brands? Or?
Actually, since this is the Accent Conference, where's the sweet tea drinkers in the room? Do we have some sweet tea drinkers? My accent changes a little bit as I go, but my voice, this is the only voice I have. I am just me.
Yeah.
Jason Falls used to wear a t-shirt that said, "WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get." That's pretty much who I am. You may see me dressed, I don't dress like this in the field, but I'm still the same person. In fact, I was shoveling unmentionable out of the back of a truck with my husband, and I looked at him and I said, "You do know that I'm one of the top 100 women on Twitter, right?" He said, "If that meant anything, somebody else would be doing that for you." But that's where.
Yes. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, it wasn't rubber.
Any other questions for Becky?
Nobody's going to ask for Mom's margarita recipe? I'm going to be disappointed. Back here?
Yeah, I have a question about how you balance the idea of like mass marketing versus the individual relationships and building them. Is there some kind of balance in between there? Because you have multiple businesses, obviously. I just want to know where the balance is, like where you meet in the middle as far as like trying to provide value on an individual basis versus, trying to make sure you get out to the new people as possible.
I think Jenny made some really great points about dealing at scale. That she spends an hour looking at the overall numbers and understanding the trends and the larger things that are going on. The balance for that, I mean, you need to focus that time. If you're at that scale, you have to focus that time and have dedicated time that you spend understanding what is going on overall. And then you spend at least as much time indicating individually, connecting with people one-on-one. So to me, that's the best balance I can give you, because this, not a Fortune 500 company, so for me it's easy to be one-on-one and personal and individual. We're fortunate in the store that they only come in one at a time, and a few at a time. We get more than one customer occasionally, but you just answer people individually. So my answer for you would be to get that big picture knowledge, but spend just as much time focusing on as many individuals as you have time to focus on.
Thank you all.
Okay, I have a last thing, and there's one last question I'll answer quick. The margarita, Mom's margaritas. Okay, Mom's margaritas, 3 parts tequila, 3 parts triple sec, 2 parts lime juice. These are stout, not for children. Although I may have been a little young when I tried them. Okay, so there we go. So my last thing that I wanted to say is, where does this come from? Why is this even a thing in small towns? It's because in a small town, we are all interconnected. See, you're not just my customer, you also work with me as a volunteer on the photo walk event. And, maybe you and the Chamber of Commerce president have kids that are the same age, and so you know each other. And maybe the person that approves your bank loan is related to the person that mows your lawn. And we take this for granted in small towns. We assume that everyone is interconnected. It's that sense of interconnectedness that determines how, at our best, we treat everyone. Because we assume that you are connected to everyone else that matters. And so we treat everyone individually as being individually important. And that way of thinking generates these 8 attitudes, these 8 values, really, that I just gave to you. and that coincidentally are great for business everywhere. But they come from the rootedness and the basic value that each individual is important and is of worth. And so that mass marketing theory that compels you to head for the next new shiny and to focus only on numbers and to think that, well, it doesn't matter if I burn you because look how many other customers I can draw. That is the same attitude of it's just a numbers game. It's just a numbers game. The opposite of just a numbers game is that everyone matters. Everyone matters. And so if you will remember that tenet, if you grew up in a small town, you're from a small town, hold on to that. That one value can really determine the success of your business online, the success of your business overall, and probably your success as a person. Everyone matters.
Thank you.